it comes to books, is bigger better? I'm going to try to answer that question today by looking at the 15 largest books on my shelf. Now, this is not science because there's no accurate way to truly determine the longest books that I've read. There are page counts, but there are different font sizes, there are different spacings of lines as you read, there are different formats, hardcover, even hardcovers vary in size with margins and things like that. Additionally, I looked at a few different word count websites and they all kind of contradict each other. There's one book on this list that 3 different sites, one listed it at 260,000 words, one at 380,000 words, and one at 500,000 words. So I don't know if this is in order. I'm going to try to do it as best as I can from number 15 to number 10 to number 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at my average ratings and see if my average score, which over the last 10 plus years at Goodreads is around a 4.0, if these 15 books exceed a 4.0 or are underneath a 4.0, to answer the question that, at least for me, when it comes to books, is bigger, better. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention is that a translated text may vary based on the translations. So that factors in there as well. So for all of these books, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the book that I own as far as the page count, for the format that I have, and then I'm going to give you the number of words that it is based on the website that I used, and then I'll give you my star rating. And then we'll total up at the end and see if we exceed that 4.0 threshold. First book, James Clavell's Shogun. This is a chunky book. Love this book. This clocks in at 1,299 pages, 298,000 words, and I gave this a 5.0. So the chunkers are off to a good start. Second book, this one's a paperback, and this is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. And again, different translations may vary. This one, the page count is 1,232 pages, and the word count is 300,000. And this is one of my favorite classics, and I gave this one a 5-star as well. Third one on the list, so I guess number 13, if you're keeping track of the ranking, is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is a chunky one. This is the first book of his Stormlight archive, and it clocks in at 1,007 pages, 314,000 words, and I love this book one. Not everybody loves this book one like I do, but I gave it a 5 out of 5, so we are in the lead with the chunky boys. All right, up next, my favorite author, who's on this list a few times. This one's huge. This is Under the Dome. And you see this one. This is just a big beast of a book. Under the Dome clocks in at 1,074 pages. It is 314,000 words, and I gave this one a 4.5. That ending wasn't quite what it could have been. Next one, I love this edition, and this is the case that it doesn't look like a chunky book, but the font size is small and the spacing is small, and this is the Penguin cloth-bound version of Don Quixote by Cervantes. I love these cloth-bound versions. They're just, I love how tactile they are, and they look nice up on the shelf here. So Don Quixote, this version is 1,023 pages, and it clocks in at 324,000 words. Now, this will lower the average. I gave this a 3 out of 5. I felt that it was a bit bloated for what it was. I do think back upon it in fondness, but it's not one that I would necessarily read again. All right, into the top 10. Number 10 is another entry by Sanderson, and that is Words of Radiance, the second book in the Stormlight archive. Very, very chunky book. This one was a lot of people's favorite in this series. It wasn't my favorite, but I do like it quite a bit. Words of Radiance is 1,087 pages, 339,000 words. I gave it a 4.5 rating. So the chunkers are probably still doing pretty well. Next one, I have not read this in 35 years, or maybe even a little bit more, and that is Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard. And this is one of those bricks of a paperback, and it's got tiny font that's very slow, very closely spaced. This is 10,066 pages, word count 347,000 words, and I'm not going to rate this one because it's been so long. I don't remember much of this at all. I do want to reread it, though. I mean, it's a space opera that I'm not sure if L. Ron Hubbard isn't talked about now because he wasn't a great author or because he started a religion. It's hard to say. Those two things being things that both would cause him to be kind of disappear from today's reading habits. But I do want to reread this at some point. But Battlefield Earth was number 9 on the list. Number 8 on the list is A Dance of Dragons by George R.R. Martin. This is a heavy one because this is a quality hardcover. Dance of Dragons, of course, is book 5 of Song of Ice and Fire. And it clocks in at 1,016 pages and is 357,000 words. And I gave this a 4-star out of 5. So this is number 8. Number 7 is one of my favorite authors. Now, this is the one that had such the different page count. This is the one, this is The Stand. And maybe the low page count was the one that was the abridged version. But this unabridged version, theoretically, on the site that I used for all of these, it was 360,000 pages. And the page count is 1,153. And The Stand is one of my favorites. This is a 5-star read for me. And rounding out this group of 5 at number 6 on the list is another one by Stephen King, and that is It. This is 1,138 pages. These chunky books. 362,000 words, and this is one of my favorites as well. Both of those are 2 of my 3 favorite King books, and I gave It, of course, a 5-star. All right, here we are in the top 5. Number 5, more Sanderson, you guessed it. Rhythm of War, the 4th book in the Stormlight Archive. This is a chunky one. And I'm eagerly awaiting book 5. We'll see if it busts up this list. But Rhythm of War is 1,230 pages, 380,000 words. I gave it a 3.5, so it's lowering the chunker total here. I thought it had some major plotting issues and was quite bloated. Anyway, on to number 4, the last entry by Sanderson, and that is Oathbringer, the 3rd book in the Stormlight Archive. These are chunky. Oathbringer clocks in at 1,243 pages, 387,000 words, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think this, for me, is where kind of some cracks in the story started to emerge, and I felt that, again, pacing wasn't quite as good as the first 2 books. So, we're done with Sanderson. We do have some more fantasy in the next one. Now, I wasn't sure whether to include this one, but it was the author's original intention for this to be one book, even though it was split into 3. And I do have a 1-book version, and that's The Lord of the Rings. So, Lord of the Rings, this omnibus version that I have, which is amazing, special edition. I have a video unboxing this if you want to see it in all its glory. But the Lord of the Rings, this version is 1,178 pages, and the word count is 403,000 words, and of course it's a 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite book series of all time. All right, last 2. One of my favorite classics is The Count of Monte Cristo. This is a beautiful version. It's I think this is a Barnes & Noble version. I do love just the vibrant blue and gold here. Count of Monte Cristo is 1,065 pages. Word count just edges out Lord of the Rings. This is 404,000 words, and I love this book. This is a favorite book, favorite classic, favorite everything. This is a 5-star read for me. And the last book, it was always a cliche, but apparently it's true. The heftiest, chunkiest, biggest book I've read in my life is War and Peace. And this might not look as big as some of the other ones, but the font size is kind of small, and it is spaced kind of very close together. This, of course, is my Volohansky and Pavir translation. But War and Peace, this version is 1,273 pages, 441,000 words. Craziness. Unfortunately, I just gave it a 3 out of 5. I love Russian literature, but I liked Anna Karenina better. I felt that this book had kind of 2 books combined. It was like commentary on history, and then there was the story with the characters, and I didn't think they coalesced together very well. But anyway, this is my chunkiest book. So those are my top 15 biggest books that I've read. 14 of those I gave ratings, and the average rating for all these chunkers is 4.39. So for me, when it comes to books, bigger is better. So I hope you liked this light video. It was fun to just put this together. And the genesis of this was, a student asked me, what's the longest book you've ever read? And I didn't know the answer. So this was fun to do. Now I can say that War and Peace is the longest book that I've read. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter, Goodreads, and the Fireside Discord. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.